All right, some breaking news coming in. Well, the face-off over the emergency is only intensifying, with the government now deciding to observe the 25th of June as Samvidhaan Hatya Diwas. Now, remember, it was the 25th of June in 1975 when the Indira Gandhi-led government imposed emergency, and that set in motion a series of political events that were to alter India's history and the history of the Indian Constitution. But now the government deciding to observe this day as a Samvidhaan Hatya Diwas. This, of course, comes after that huge political face-off that we saw in Parliament as well. Our senior colleague Maria Shakil now joins us live from the NDTV newsroom. So, Maria, the government going all out as far as the emergency is concerned. But why has the government decided to do this year? It's not a round year anniversary in the sense that, you know, it will be 50 years next year. But why has the government decided to go all out as far as the emergency is concerned this year?
In the government, certainly, that narrative which was built by the Congress party, that if the BJP were to cross 400 before the election results, of course, then it would lead to some kind of alteration or change in the constitution. Now, that narrative did cost BJP on a number of seats, particularly where the Dalits voted against the party in the state of Maharashtra, for example. Now, the party and the government going all out to fix that narrative, and that is the reason why this announcement is coming from Home Minister himself, who has put out a tweet saying on June 25th, 1975, the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, in a brazen display of a dictatorial mindset, strangled the soul of our democracy by imposing the emergency on the nation. Lakhs of people were thrown behind bars for no fault of their own, and the voice of the media was silenced. The government of India has decided to observe the 25th of June every year as Samvidhaan Hatya Diwas. The day will commemorate the massive contributions of all those who endured the inhuman pains of the 1975 emergency. So the BJP trying to make that narrative around emergency relevant. Remember, in the inaugural session of the 18th Lok Sabha also, the Prime Minister had talked about how there is a need to remember those dark days of emergency and how there is a need to preserve and protect the Constitution. Something that we saw play out in the first few days of the session as well, with a resolution being moved by none other than the Lok Sabha Speaker, which the opposition, including the Congress party, had objected to, saying that if a resolution of this nature had to come, it should have come from the Treasury benches. Why a bipartisan chair, that is the Speaker's chair, indulging in politics of this nature? Something that we also heard from the President of India in the joint address, that those dark days should be condemned, but at the same time repeatedly remembered. So now the government going ahead and fixing that narrative, in which they realize that Save the Constitution movement of sorts of Rahul Gandhi, who also, when he took oath as a member of parliament, was holding the Constitution. So were all the MPs of the Congress party. We'll try and get the first reaction from the Congress now, Vedant, because that certainly is going to be witnessing a huge or a massive political, a face-off between the two sides.
That's right, Maria. In fact, Pooja Tripathi of the Congress is live with us on the phone line. Pooja Tripathi, your first response to this, because whatever said and done, the Congress cannot completely sort of get away with what has been one of the darkest periods of Indian history, and now the government going ahead and deciding to observe the 25th of June as a Samvidhaan Hatya Diwas. Your response to this?
Government is a government of misplaced priority. Congress has never shied away from accepting the mistakes. On January 24, 1978, Indira Gandhi herself took the responsibility of emergency, and Congress has apologized for it. But will the government apologize for suspending 150 parliamentarians when the parliament was in session? Government does not have time to pass a joint resolution for giving justice to the NEET students, and government now comes up with a Samvidhaan Hatya Diwas on June 25th. The government does not send the bills to the parliamentary standing committees, does not open it for parliament.
But Pooja Tripathi, many would say you started this entire narrative. It was the Congress actually that brought Constitution and, this entire narrative around the BJP wanting to destroy the Constitution into the picture.
Who said we brought it? It's Anand Hegde. It's Lallu Singh. is Diya Kumari, who said कि 272 में तो सरकार बन जाती है, हमें 400 पार चाहिए संविधान बदलने के लिए. Is Arun Govil. These were the people who came out and publicly, and they were the Bharatiya Janata Party's official Lok Sabha candidates.
Okay.
They said that they want 400 part to change the constitution, and seeing their democratic history, seeing the way they have performed in last 10 years, it was true, and that's why the citizen gave them a mandate that they could not reach up to a simple majority on their own numbers.
Okay, let me get Shazia Elmi of the BJP to respond to this. Shazia, many within the Congress and the opposition say that what is the point in delving into what has been, what is now history? The fact that it's more important for the government to address pressing issues of today, including the NEET issue and of course the situation in Manipur and many other such pressing issues. What is the need for the government to go ahead and sort of talk about the emergency again and again, whether it was in the first session of the parliament or now with this decision?
Parliament is addressing all the key issues. We are on top of it. They're all very much being not just addressed, but strict measures are being taken every day to ensure that something like NEET is not repeated. But I think also at the same time, it's important. Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Shazia, we can hear you.
Also at the same time, it is crucial that we remember our past, what our democracy has endured, how the civil liberties were mauled, and how one party roughshod and arrested all the opposition leaders. I think it's very important to have that as a memory so that it's never ever repeated. And I think those people who are reminding others about the constitutional and the value of constitutional, importance of the constitution must know as to how they themselves have, not once but many times over, whether it's changing of the preamble or using of Article 356 to topple elected state governments or to make amendments, have done it time and time over. So I think this is just not valid for BJP or Congress. This is the importance
Shazia,
of
stay on with us. Manikam Tagore, Congress MP, is also joining us now live on the phone line. Manikam Tagore, your response to the government's decision to observe the 25th of June as Samvidhaan Hatya Diwas. Would you say that the Congress's narrative around the Constitution and saving the Constitution in a sense has backfired, with the government now going all out over the emergency?
I can only just laugh and say that it is a ridiculous part by Mr. Amit Shah. We all know that RSS has trained them to divert from the real issues. RSS has trained them again and again to divert every time when they are in the back foot to divert the people of India. They are doing that part, but one thing is very clear that this time they can't divert because the NEET has affected 25 lakh students and the NTA's failure has affected crores of youngsters. Every exam is being leaked and railway accidents are hitting lakhs of families, and farmers are getting agitated over their refusal for minimum support price to be a law, and the MSME sector is being completely rattled. All these things are happening, and Mr. Amit Shah and Modi wants to have a diversion in it. We all know that 400 Par was the slogan which they only created, and people of India rejected it. From 303, they came down to 239, and Mr. Modi lost the single majority, and he is now supported by Mr. Amit Shah.
But Manikam Tagore, would you concede that, while the Congress party and the opposition talks about how sacrosanct the Constitution is, it is in a sense important to remember what many would call the biggest blot on India's history as a constitutional democracy, and perhaps introspect and see what we stand to learn from those months when India was under emergency.
The problem with NDTV is that you don't hear what we are saying. You wanted to have your agenda, means that please don't call me. When I am saying, you can't intervene and ask your questions. This kind of journalism is lost, and these kind of things won't be accepted.
Go ahead, sir. I'm listening to your point, which is why we have you here.
I can't continue with these things.
Please go ahead and make your point, sir. All right, we'll try and get back Mr. Manikam Tagore, but Shazia Ilmi and Pooja Tripathi continue to be with us. Pooja Tripathi, what Manikam Tagore was saying, in fact, let me get in Shazia first, was a fair point that, while there are more important issues like the NEET issue, the peace, the solution for peace in Manipur, the government and no less than the Home Minister talking about the emergency, many would say is not justified, given the fact that there are so many issues concerning the people that people expect the government to talk about and the top leadership to talk about.
The government has been talking about all of these issues, and we've been following the news, and we know that all these issues are being addressed on a war footing, and so whether some matters are pending in the Supreme Court or otherwise. But the fact is that the party that is talking about saving the constitution should be reminded, and more than the party, more than the Congress or the BJP, this goes beyond. This is about a democracy. We should ensure that everybody knows as to what dark days we have seen, what dark days India has seen. Had one person, one PM, if one PM takes on extraordinary powers and starts mauling the civil liberties for ordinary people and for the opposition. This is a sense of dictatorship that Indians first felt. So we must always keep that memory alive so as to ensure that we never go back. We can never have a fascist dictatorial regime like Congress was at that point of time. And we must constantly remind Congress about this and people of India that we cannot go back again to the same state.
Okay, Pooja Tripathi, your response to that quickly.
I think very rich coming from BJP. They should look in the mirror and they're very happy, revoking emergency, celebrating Samvidhaan Hatya Diwas. They should answer the country on the educational emergency that's being on the country with 24 lakh students out protesting. The demographic emergency that 16.5 crore youth are out unemployed. The emergency on the peace and security of the country when the one portion of Manipur and the one portion of India, Manipur is burning since last 1 year and Pradhan Mantri ji hasn't visited yet. So, they can celebrate their Samvidhaan Hatya Diwas, bring it again and again, but they have to answer the people on the, the issues that are plaguing the country, with unemployment. We are buying tomatoes at 100 plus rupees. They'll not answer on this. The youth are out on the streets. We saw the visuals from Ankleshwar and Bharuch when, lakh of people were applied for some just 12 menial job at a hotel, a private hotel, and the railing fell off. They'll not answer people on these issues. But they will bring in emergency, they'll bring in Samvidhaan Hatya, and I think that's the mockery of democracy they are making.
Shazia, your response to that, because many would say that, this narrative really in a sense backfired for the BJP as well in states like Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, and Maharashtra. I'm being told we've lost Shazia there. But thanks very much, Pooja Tripathi and Shazia LB, for joining us with that. This is the latest political flashpoint between the government and the opposition. This, of course, after we saw that huge showdown over the emergency in Parliament as well, with various opposition leaders holding the constitution. But the top leadership of the BJP, including, of course, the Home Minister as well as the Prime Minister, talking about the dark days of emergency, saying that must be remembered as well. In fact, the President as well in her address talked about the emergency. So this certainly becoming a central point as far as the discourse is concerned between the government and the opposition. And this also comes amid a complete breakdown of communication between the opposition and the Treasury benches.